Good afternoon, welcome back to Football League World TV. It's time for the latest edition of the debate, and here we're looking at Forest Green Rovers and whether anyone can catch them down in League Two. I'm your host, George Dagless, and joining me this afternoon, Ben Wignall and Marcus Ally. Ben, how are you getting on?
Yeah, very well, George. Chance to talk about a league that I don't get to either talk too much about or watch a little too much of, but certainly talking about a team that caught the headlines for maybe all the wrong reasons the weekend.
Yeah, we will get into what happened at the weekend later on the show. Marcus, how are you?
Yeah, really well. Thanks, George. Good to be talking League Two, and definitely one of the most exciting teams to follow, not just this season, but I think in previous years as well. So, yeah, looking forward to the show.
Good stuff. Before we get going, we're across Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter this afternoon. Forest Green Rovers fans, do get in touch. Let us know what you've made of the season so far. Let us know, do you think this year going to be the one where you get promotion into League One? And League Two fans from other clubs, let us know what have you made of Forest Green Rovers so far? Can they be caught and how can they be stopped? Let's get straight into it though. Marcus, let's come to you first of all with FGR, and let's just talk in general. They've been very impressive so far this season in the fourth tier. What stands out to you as being their sort of key strengths?
Well, I think on and off the pitch, there's definitely been a clear identity instilled at Forest Green Rovers, and that goes over the last few years. I know, obviously, they brought in a new manager in Rob Edwards at the start of the season, but there's been a clear approach looking to bring in some younger players and play an attractive brand of football in recent years. And there's players, a good core at the club who have been there through this period. And are really reaping the rewards this season. A lot of League Two clubs don't have the luxury of having that continuity. You sort of got to rebuild a squad every single summer, such as the nature of the short contracts. But Forest Green have been able to continue that. And maybe one thing this season on the whole is that they've definitely been able to tighten up defensively where they haven't been as resolute in recent years. They have been an attractive and high scoring attacking side in years gone by, but I think definitely that's the one thing that's been able to help them win so many matches, is that apart from one or two games that we'll get onto, that on the main part they have been pretty watertight at the back as well.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, Forest Green have been very difficult to score against. Ben, do you think that's their most important strength at the moment? I mean, their attack's not bad either, is it?
Yeah, I mean they seem to be outscoring pretty much most teams when they play. It was kind of worrying, though, seeing what happened on Saturday, which we'll talk about later. But you don't want those kind of defensive slip ups, coming just before Christmas when the games are coming thick and fast. It's not a good time to start dropping points and dropping clangers. But yeah, the defense has been solid for the most part this season. And when you've got strikers firing on all cylinders, and they've got width coming from the wing backs who are both very creative, then I think the strength is just all over the pitch, not just located in the defence. They've got strength in depth, and it was Rob Edwards coming in the summer. I think it was, he's not got much experience in the senior game. Being a head coach, I think that was a worry, but he's seemingly getting the best out of him.
Certainly is. Before we move on to their weaknesses, let's just talk sort of their individual sort of standout players currently as well. I mean, you look at the stats, and obviously Jamil Matt and Matt Stevens are the two that perhaps stand out most, or 13 goals each so far this season. Marcus, what key players do you think are important for Rovers going into the rest of this year?
I think the wing backs have been huge and really important to the way that they play. Just one thing I forgot to mention is that Jamil Matt, as you say, is actually the only player in the squad who's over 28 years old. He's 32. So I think that just shows that the approach that they've been looking to instill in the club lately. But yeah, I'm looking at Nicky Cadden and Kane Wilson providing such amazing width and players that could definitely be playing a higher level. We've got youth on their side. Cadden's got 6 goals and 6 assists this season. Wilson 2 goals and 8 assists. So you can tell just how profitable they've been down the flanks. Ebu Adams is a great central midfielder at League Two level. Hasn't quite lived up to expectations in the last few years. He's 25 now, and it feels like he probably should have graduated from the 4th tier a couple of years ago, but he's still a solid performer in central areas, keeping everything together. But I think Nicky Cadden has taken the headlines a lot and in providing chances for the likes of Aitchison, along with Matt Stevens and Jamil Matt, has been huge this season. So the wing backs are a huge contributor into the way that Forest Green can attack sides at League Two level and create chances with such regularity as well.
They've got so much attacking potency, haven't they, across the pitch? Ben, Marcus has given a good overview there of some of the key players. Are there any others that particularly stand out to you in this Forest Green team?
We must be looking at my notes because I've got Cadden and Ken Wilson, the wing backs who I picked out. Wilson's a West Brom Academy graduate. He's got 2 goals and 7 assists. I think he got a couple on Saturday as well, watching the highlights against Oldham. He's providing a lot of attacking strength down that right side. And like Mark said, Cadden as well, 6 goals, 5 assists. He's proven to be, a really good bargain, and it wouldn't surprise me if either of them wanted in the, League One or Championship this January. But also, I think Matt Stevens as well has had a real big improvement this season. He got picked up by Peterborough from Barnet, I think about 4 or 5 years ago. They have one of the punts from non-league or the lower leagues that sometimes they work out, a lot of the time they do, but this one kind of didn't. And he floated around in non-league a few loan spells, and even last season he was on loan at Stevenage. Didn't really work out for him at Forest Green, but he's come into Rob Edwards' team now, and he's clearly got the best out of him, 13 in 20 games. So I think Stevens partnering Matt up front, I think it's a perfect partnership. And like you said, they've got 26 goals between already this season. It's certainly a very prolific one.
Certainly is. Let's move away then from the strengths, Ben. Let's come to their weaknesses now. I mean, we were on the weekend review show on Monday morning, and obviously we had to mention Oldham 5, Forest Green 5 that played out over the weekend. It's not the first time Forest Green have been involved in a bit of a left field game, if you like. They obviously beat Crawley 6-3 earlier on in the campaign. I guess, does that sort of hint at a little weakness with Forest Green, that occasionally they can switch off? I mean, yes, obviously they won that game against Crawley, but it was probably, they made more of it than they should have done. It should have been an easier scoreline than it perhaps was. And they let a 4-1 lead slip against Oldham over the weekend. Is that a little bit of cause for concern for them?
It has to be, yeah. I think being 4-1, 5-3 up and not getting the win against a team, down, struggling at the bottom end of the table, it's got to be something you're concerned about. And like I said, the games are coming thick and fast right now, and you don't want that to be, a bit of a negative that drives them on a bit of a kind of a drawing or losing. When you've seen the Championship recently, Fulham and Bournemouth have had poor results, drawing and losing games in terms of Bournemouth. And they look comfy at one point, and you don't want to get too comfy as Forest Green being at the top of the table. But certainly for the most part, the defending's been all right. I think it's 8 clean sheets in 20 games, and you've had the odd game where they've looked a bit sloppy. But aside from, those sloppy games, I don't really see many weaknesses. They've got goals all over the pitch. Maybe the fact that Rob Edwards is slightly inexperienced, it could be a weakness at the back end of the season. It could get tight at the top if they do end up dropping a few points, and he doesn't know anything about being in like a promotion battle as a manager, but he's a very experienced player in the Championship with Blackpool and Wolves. He's clearly a very good coach, but aside from these kind of sloppy 3 and 5 goal conceded games against Crawley and Oldham, I can't really find too many things to pick up on the flaws.
Yeah, no, they're still overall looking pretty strong, aren't they? Marcus, is there anything that you can pick out in terms of weaknesses, perhaps aside from the occasional tendency to get involved in a bit of a topsy-turvy game?
I'm struggling, really, to be honest. When you look at those 2 games in isolation, conceding the 3 against Crawley and the 5 against Oldham, that's 40% of the goals they've conceded this season in just 2 games. So you can't really write them off. I mean, I suppose Rob Edwards would probably take that they've taken 4 points out of a 2-game stretch where they've conceded 8 goals. And I'm sure as a manager, they tend to be sort of control freaks when a game kind of goes outside the box what we're used to. That would be a little bit concerning. But no, on the whole, I think there's maybe some reservations about them going on to win the league title, but with such a nice cushion already on the playoff places and that extra automatic promotion spot available in League Two, it really is hard to pick out any weaknesses. They are slightly better in attack still than defence, but I think that's more of a system of the brand of football that they look to play, rather than sort of looking at any deficiencies in particular.
Yeah, no, you make good points. I think Forest Green certainly very short list of weaknesses, if there are any at the moment. Let's look at the teams that are just below them in the League Two table then, and who could potentially stop them from at least winning the title, I guess, at this stage. Forest Green currently top, played 20 matches on 44 points. Below them, Northampton played 21 and they're on 40 points. And then all the sides below have also played 21 that you would say are at least in contention. Next up is Port Vale, third with 35 points. So I guess let's talk in terms of the title. First of all, Northampton Town, who are going great guns at the moment as well, having won 4 straight games in the 4th tier. Ben, do Northampton look like perhaps the only team that can stop Forest Green from winning the league?
Well, it's certainly at the minute, there's a lot of inconsistencies with teams in and around that kind of top 3 and playoff pack. So at the moment, with the run they're on, I think you can say, yeah, basically, I think all the teams I thought that might be up there at the top end of the table, Bradford, Bristol Rovers, Salford, they're all doing pretty poorly and underperforming, in the bottom half of the table. And I think it shows the unpredictability of not just League Two, but the whole of the EFL. I think there's teams in that kind of playoff pack right now who could go on a winning run, but I don't think they'll trouble Forest Green in winning the title. They could get into the top 3, but unless Forest Green have a big drop off in terms of results, I can't really see anyone other than Northampton right now catching them.
Yeah, I mean, Marcus, is that something you'd agree with? I mean, you look at the rest of the top 7 and none of them have won more than 2 of their last 5, which shows you just how competitive the League Two table is. And the phrase sort of, the horse has gone, hasn't it? Basically, with Forest Green, and no one seems to be able to catch them up.
Yeah, I think I do rate the sort of supporting cast in this League Two promotion race. I think Sutton United and Port Vale are having some injury crises at the moment, which is hampering them a little bit on making up that ground. I'd be more worried from Northampton. I think the likes of Exeter, Newport and Port Vale and Sutton, as I've mentioned, will be capable of closing the gap to Northampton. It's just whether they'll be able to make that further stretch to Forest Green Rovers, who, if they win their game in hand, will have a 13-point gap over the playoffs, which when we're approaching the halfway mark in the season is enormous. And they might even be able to strengthen a few areas in January. So I'm still impressed. I think Northampton, it still comes across as a little bit unsustainable to me. They've scored 14 goals from set pieces this season, which is the most in League Two. 10 of their 29 goals have been scored by defenders. So if someone can find a way to deal with the Cobblers from set pieces, I think going forward they're going to be hampered quite a lot. And a lot of their recent wins have been by a single goal margin as well. So whether they're going to start falling on the wrong side of the fine margins at some point, I certainly don't think they can keep pace with Forest Green if the Green kind of replicate what they've done in the first half of the season in the second half. So I think the chasing pack will sort of break through and break into contention for the top 3 and maybe even to finish second. But the gap that FGR already have over Northampton alone could be too much to really reach looking ahead.
Okay, so I guess the question is then, Marcus, a Forest Green almost pretty much guaranteed a top 3 spot now, do you think? And it's just a case of trying to win the title. Promotion is obviously the most important thing. Can you see there being any kind of sort of second half season collapse where they end up in the playoffs or even worse?
Well, we have seen Forest Green sort of let things slip in the second half of the season in recent years. They have been involved in the automatic promotion conversation, probably at this stage of the season for at least the last 2 or 3 years. And on one of those occasions, they didn't finish it even in the playoffs. However, the gap wasn't anywhere near as big as it is now, and it would be a hell of a collapse for them to even finish outside the top 3. So I can't really see it. I think they've got the squad depth to deal with the heavy schedule in and around the Christmas period, and they'll probably dip into the transfer market just so they can feel a little bit more assured and keep freshening up that squad in January. So I think the squad depth points towards the fact that they should be okay. And Rob Edwards is in this position for the first time. Unlike some of the squad, he doesn't really have the sort of traumatizing experiences of slipping away from the top end towards the back end of a season. So I think they should have given themselves enough of a cushion now that even if that they do perform below par in the second half of the season, they should be able to hang on for automatic promotion at least.
Okay, Ben, you're a big horse racing fan. Are we going to see a Devon Lock-like collapse in the second half of the season for Forest Green? See them drop out of the top three?
I don't think so. I think they have had some iffy results. Well, obviously the Saturday's 5-5 is one of them, but I think with the strength of the away form as well, they've had 7 wins and 4 draws in 11 games. I think if you've got an away record like that, you're not really going to drop many points if you can keep your home form up there. I know they've lost twice, one of them to Port Vale. I think the other one might have been Swindon. But yeah, they've got too much talent, I think, in this squad to drop out of it. I think there's one concern is, Rob Edwards being inexperienced, but he's clearly getting the best out of him right now. When it gets to nitty-gritty at the final few months, he might be too far clear to feel any pressure, basically. There are teams that could go on a run to, challenge for the top 3, but by that time, I think that Forest Green should be home and hosed the way they're going. But I don't think there's any, good given certainty in the EFL. I think talking about the Championship, we thought Fulham and Bournemouth might be clear of the rest going into January, but that gap's being pegged back now, so a lot can change very quickly. But I don't see anyone really challenging Forest Green for the title.
Okay, well that brings us nicely onto the conclusion of this debate. Ben, we might as well keep with you here. Sounds like you're backing them to be lifting the trophy come the end of this season.
Yeah, can't really see past them, especially when they could potentially strengthen in January as well. Don't want to lose any of those players that have been performing well this season, even though there will naturally be interest from clubs in the higher leagues. But yeah, I can't see anyone at this point catching Forest Green.
Okay, Marcus, Forest Green Rovers 21-22 champions this year for you?
I think they've got to be. There's just too many threats. You can stop one player and then the other 3 will get you. They're too strong. And then the gap already, as it is, they could even extend that. By far and away the best team in League 2 so far, and I haven't seen enough to really doubt their chances of going on to lift the title. So yeah, I think Rob Edwards lifts League 2.
Yeah, I think it's a clean sweep. Actually, I tend to agree with both of you there. Not sure whether that constitutes a debate if we all agree at the end, but Forest Green certainly looking good to lift the League 2 crown at the end of this season. Before we go, just letting you know what comes up on Football League World TV tomorrow. 10 o'clock, another debate. Are Nottingham Forest genuine playoff contenders this season? Picked up under Steve Cooper. Ned Holmes hosting that one. He's joined by Billy Mully and Forest fan Des Oldham. And then at 4 o'clock, another debate. At 4 o'clock, as I say, on Football League World TV. Alfie Bones hosting that one. He's joined by Marcus and Toby. They're looking at who the top 3 biggest clubs in League 1 are. Marcus is a Charlton fan. I can guess who one of your picks is probably going to be for that. But do people at home do enjoy that tomorrow? That's coming up on Football League World TV. But we're done here for the day. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel, Football League World TV, and do like this video as well if you can. That'd be greatly appreciated. But from us here, it's bye for now.